welcome to the Fierce Female Network. I'm your host, Fierce Manson, and today is Friday, baby. Listen. It is for real Friday. About to get for real all up in here. Listen, about to get for real. It is not going to get any real than what you're going to hear on today. It is for real Friday, my darlings. Listen, it is March 27th, 2026. It is 5 p.m. on the Central Standard Time Zone and 6 p.m. on the Eastern Standard Time Zone. And the Eastern Standard Time Zone is the time zone that rocks my socks off, honey. You know, I got to push it up to the ATL, to my home team. Must give a shout out to my team, Fierce Nation International, the hardest working team on the planet. You know, and as I was saying, for real, they're hollering out, please, you got these trolls. You have the trolls. There are trolls. People may not know what a troll is. A troll. A troll is, sometimes when you're online, you'll have people on your timeline that really don't mean you any interest or mean you any good, but they're just there to annoy you. So I'm talking to the about the troll. I get them on Instagram all the time, the little trolls. They're just there. They're annoying. They're very annoying. So anyway, just hollering out and saying things like, "Oh my goodness," you're saying it's for real Friday. So listen, let me get on down to it. So I'm going to be talking about caregiving. If you know me, have known me sometime, I always talk about from time to time caregiving, dementia, Alzheimer's. But this time I'm going to focus in on the care, the caregiver, the person that is actually doing the act of taking care of someone else. Now, came across this on Twitter. You guys know I love Twitter. That's my real house. I'm not really a big fan of Facebook, so I'm not on there talking about what I do much at all. So on Twitter, Ian Kramer, he had this post. He says, for many who give care, there is no choice, no support, no respite. They survive but cannot thrive. As a society, we owe them more than encouragement and gratitude. We owe them the resources to make practical decisions about how care is accomplished. And that is very true. I'm going to break it down for you. So listen, that is very true because I've been in that spot more than one occasion. I've been a caregiver more than one time. And you'll have the individuals that may not recognize it or may say, I've never heard that before. When were you a caregiver? So just because someone doesn't know something does not make it to be so. And I'm going to break this down because I've experienced each part of what Ian Kramer is saying in this post, where it says, for many who give care, there is no choice, no support, no respite. Now, I understand what that means. That is a bad feeling when you have no support, no respite, no choice. And I'm saying it from various stages of being a caregiver because I was caregiver on in different stages in my life, different points in my life to different people. So with my husband, of course, with my husband, I knew he was ill. I knew he was sick day one when I met him. So he was of course, a very prosperous man, very, had prosperity. He had those things. He accomplished those things, had many buildings, many property. And so that is not the point I'm talking about. The point I'm talking about, I knew who he was. I got to know him, but I met him at a stage in his life where he was ill. Well, he could not take care of himself. So listen, but I really was drawn toward him. And the point is this: when he really got really down sick, let me tell you something. I supported him, took care of him, and all those things. And you know what I got in return? I didn't get any support myself. Now I'm the wife. His people, his family came from Louisiana and came up to Chicago not to help me take care of him. They didn't come to support me. They did not come to help me. That is not what they came for. They came for his money. They came for his money. You know what they did? They moved from Louisiana up to Chicago and put me out of my own house. Well, you're probably saying, well, how could that be? How could that possibly be? I'm going to get to some music, but right now it is a raw, real discussion. It is Real Friday. They put me out of my own house. Do you hear me? His people, my so-called in-laws. And you say, well, how can somebody put you out of your own house? I'm going to tell you how that happened. I was at the doctor. I went to a doctor's appointment for myself. Came back home. The locks were changed. Bob is on the inside, of course. He's on the inside. By that time, he had to have a hospital bed, and they were taking care of him. He had the hospital bed, and his sister and his brothers had come up here. And I got home. The locks were changed. My key didn't work. Couldn't get into my own house. And you know what was on the outside? Boxes, my clothes, sitting outside. You hear me? What I'm saying up in here? Put the wife out so they could stay there and collect what they wanted to collect. Now, that was the end. That was the end. I didn't see that in the beginning, of course, because I'm thinking, what in the world are they doing? What in the world? They're putting the wife out of their own house. That's just one instance of caregiving. They just came, no respite. They didn't come to help me and help me to get some rest and help me to take care of him. They came to put the wife out. So when Ian says, for many who give care, there is no choice, no support, no respite. I know what that is. I know what that feels like. Now, let's advance the story. My father, I was in a place I was living. I had gotten sick. I had, of course, an aneurysm. I had a bad aneurysm, and of course, near death experience. And so I had been to one place, a transitional housing where there was a lot of different people. To make the point, long story short, someone called me. Now, then when they called me and said he had had a heart attack, I left the first place I was at. I left. People probably say, well, why would you leave? And you're not completely healed yourself. Why would you leave? And so they told me he had a heart attack. He's in the hospital. And they said, yes, he's in the hospital. So I left to go see what was going on. And I was there. He had surgery. All the family was there. Now, this is my father's side of the family, not my mother. They don't know anything about that. And so it was my aunties on my father's side, my aunties and all my cousins. We were all there together until he got in recovery and he made it through the surgery. He did okay. Now that's the first time. No, 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 no. Take a listen. Take a listen. I want you to understand what I'm saying. So that was the first occasion. I didn't become his caregiver. At that point, I went back to the transitional housing to continue taking care of myself and do what I had to do. Now, later on, I was at another place and he got ill again. He got ill again. He had already had the heart problem, but this time he had dementia and he had high blood pressure and other things was coming along. And so I left and I says, I've got to go take care of my father. There's two people. There's your mother and your father. You're gonna take care of those people. You're gonna take care of those people. So I took care of him, did all his medication, did all his meals, did his cleaning, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so he, of course, got worse, and I couldn't go through the part of him getting worse. And then my aunt, she had things set up for him where everybody takes a shift so nobody gets wore out tired. So I did the first. I was there for a long time doing medication, everything I need to do for him. And then by the time he left his home and he went into assisted living, then, they got caregivers from the state, right? And then other people came in to help him. And then I left and I went back to Bonaventure House. And so when I tell you this, and then next point, there was another family member, same thing, same scenario. And in that scenario, I took care of her, for many years. And as Ian says, no, now I won't say no support. She had people to help her. Now, but I was the only one that was in the home. But he says no choice, no support. The thing I want to point out is people don't understand. They don't realize when the person dies and they're gone, the caregiver is left with nothing but a broken body, no help. You can't even see straight. You can't even see straight. You can't make your own meal. You can't even, I'm talking about what I went through. Couldn't even make my own breakfast. You hear what I'm saying? Had to really find a way to drag my body to the kitchen to make breakfast. You know what I'm saying? And so, it was just a whole shenanigan of a mess after that person passed. And I came to another place. No, none of my clothes. I went through a whole winter with one coat, a leather coat. No winter shoes, no winter boots, no nothing. They was all somewhere else, and didn't even give me the grace to get my things that I own. Now, that's not the end. Now, Ian is making a point because this is real and it's raw. It doesn't get any real than this. Now, listen. I got to the place. I went through the winter with one leather coat, no winter coats. My person that I was with, all of those things was in storage. Now, I didn't know all of those items and clothing and stuff was in store. I didn't know that. It was in boxes. It was in wardrobe boxes and yada 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 was in storage. I was paying storage, paying rental. Now listen here. Paying rent on a place, $978. The storage unit was 150 some dollars. Now listen, plus utilities. I couldn't even afford groceries. Couldn't even get groceries. So listen, I'm paying, for every little thing that I got to pay for. Now it don't get no realer than this. Doesn't get any real. Not one person said, "Do you need help with anything?" Not one. Not one. Thank you. Not one. Do you need help? Not even. Are you okay? None of those things happened. None of those things happened. What I came out with was a broken, tired, exhausted body that couldn't even make breakfast for themselves. So when he is saying we've got to make better choices, I stand with him in saying that because I understand what he's saying. He says, as a society, we owe them more than encouragement and gratitude. I didn't even get that. I didn't get encouragement. Surely didn't get any gratitude. We owe them resources to make practical decisions about how care is accomplished. And that's why I've been on the bandwagon for so many years when it comes to caregiving, when it comes to taking care of different individuals. Because listen, if you don't have respite care, you end up breaking down. You end up breaking down. And so, of course, the first time I went through it, I was strong and young. I was young and strong. It didn't bother me because he was much older than me. And, it was pretty much the best time of my life until he got really down sick. And his family members came back to Chicago and put me out of the house, And so, and to really break it down to you, I don't mind telling the truth on folks. You listen, his people had the nerve to go to Social Security and take his check from his wife. You hear what I'm saying? And then, of course, I can't say all the different parameters. They surely did. And so the next thing I know, the nursing home was calling me. Now I had been got put out of my house, right? Had to find somewhere to stay, and the nursing home is calling me, trying to figure out where is the money to pay. Where is the money? And of course, I goes up to Social Security, coming to find out his brother was getting the Social Security check. And of course, the brother had his name down. Now, I'm telling you this for a reason. If you have loved ones that's sick or friends who are sick, you've got to take care of the financial responsibilities as well as their health. So, a lot of times, the caregiver is taking care of the health and they're not thinking about finances, they're not thinking about any of that. Just like the Alzheimer's Association said, a lot of times caregivers take money out of their pocket to take care of people. That happens a lot. That happens a lot. But you know what? And then at the end of the story, that person doesn't, they don't get encouragement. They don't get anything to replace what was spent for all those different years. So listen, listen, listen. And then Ian says, we owe them the resources to make practical decisions about how care is accomplished. And that is so true. And then he have a graphic here. It says, I'm not strong, I am surviving in a situation I have no choice about. So listen, that's what it says in the graphic. I'm not strong, I'm surviving. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, you're so strong, you're so strong," but it's not a matter of being strong, it's I'm surviving. I'm surviving. You know what I mean? And so it is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. It's a difficult thing. And then sometimes people don't understand. One last point I want to make. At this point, at this juncture in my life, I'm living alone. I've always lived alone for all of my adult life, right? But now in this instance, this is got to be the worst feeling I ever had in my life because that person I was with taking care of, they're not here. They're going on to glory. They're resting in power. And I look around every single day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to deal with this again. You're left with that image, that person's not here. You've got to deal with you're in the house by yourself. There's nobody else. The person is gone, and guess what? Nobody's reaching out to you. Not a hair, not even a hair on their head is reaching out to you. Nobody's saying, "Are you okay?" And it makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. It just makes you wonder, what are people thinking about? What are they thinking about? Now they weren't in the house taking care of the person. They're not left with anything. They're not left with anything but good times and enjoying themselves. That's what they're left with. But the person that was in the house is like, went through holy hell. You know what I mean? So I've got to play some music here. So listen, I'm going to come back to this conversation. So this is complicated. Well, this song is complicated by Camilio. He's talking about a relationship, but life can be complicated too. So this is complicated by Camilio.
It's complicated how you always do all the things you do to me. And I know you hate it when I say I'm through with all of you, darling. I'm falling in love, despairing in love for you. Yes, I love only you. I'm falling in love, despairing in love for you. Yes, I love only you. It's complicated how I saw through you. You don't know what I can see. I'm so motivated. Yes, now it's so true. I'm just finally free as free. I'm falling in love, despairing in love for you. Yes, I love only you. I'm falling in love, despairing in love for you. Yes, I love only you. So complicated. Now we gotta do goodbyes to you, baby. And you're so very hated. Yes, that's very true. This can never ever be. Oh, world is turning. I'm just yearning for one more better day. Oh, stop the churning, stomach's burning. I just got to get away. I just gotta get away. I just gotta get away. I just gotta get away from you. Yes, all of only you. Are you the cure? Or are you the darkness? Or are you the answers to all of these questions I can't comprehend? I need change in my life. I need saving from the dark side of what we could have been and will never be. I'm on my knees. 'Cause if you're gone and if it's all or not, oh, just say the prayer for me. And if I fall too far from where, oh, just say the prayer for me. Been down this road times before. My body's aching and my legs are shaking. I don't think I can take it. I need change in my life. I need saving of the dark side. Oh, all of my hurt, it all goes away when you were here. 'Cause if you're gone, and if it's someone, oh, just say the prayer for me. And if I fall too far from where, just say the prayer. Just say the prayer. Oh, Lord, you could have been, you could have been my only hope. You know that I'm washing my hands, I'm washing my hands of you, of you, of you, of you. I'm washing my hands, I'm washing my hands of you, of you, of you, of you.
All right now. All right, that is Sam. Oh Sammy, oh Sammy, oh Sammy. Sam Anderson, oh Sammy in prayer. So listen, everybody likes to hear the fierce female go on a rant. Well, that was a real rant. My God, my God. That was a real rant. It really was. So listen, I'm pretty much out of time. I'm way over my time. And I've got to get on up out of here. Up out of here. And so, I want to finish with this final note. And it all boils down, I was talking about respite care for caregivers, and I'm going to say this, it's real, it's real Friday, get real Friday. So listen, I've talked about this before, and I'm going to say this one on this real Friday. I'm not going to ever talk about it again. And so after everything I had been through, now to really put the pin in everything, someone I know had came up with the idea of let's go to Alaska. And she says, out of everything you've been through, the Lord put this on my heart that maybe you'd like to go on a trip to Alaska. And I boo-hooed, I cried, because guess what? The Alaska trip, going to Alaska, was one of the things on my list and places that I've always wanted to go. The two A's, Alaska and Africa. Now, I want to go to Africa as well, but I don't know because my body, I don't know, I don't think it can really withstand the travel to get to Alaska, to get to Africa. But Alaska was on my list to one of the places I really, really, really want to see. And she come up with this idea, and so I started crying because my heart just bled, with love because I said, oh, I want to go. And so, we saved our money for a whole year. We paid on the trip, and the thing was, here's the killer. Here's the pen. When it came time to go, it was a cruise from Seattle all the way up to Alaska. And I'm making my plans. I'm on that thing, and I'm putting what I want to go for a massage. I want to do this. I want to go see the polar bears and see this. And the day before, didn't hear anything. And I says to a family member, I says, I know this person well. She's dependable. I know her very well. I know her very well. I don't have to do anything because what her word is her bond. Her word is her bond. And so then the day before, I hadn't heard anything because it was all paid for. Everything was paid for. I paid all of my money. She paid all of her money. And the day before, didn't hear from her. I was at my mom's house. I says, oh my gosh. I started sweating bullets because I'm like, her word is her bond. I know we're going. And so I says, I kept waiting and kept waiting. And then 9 o'clock at night, still hadn't heard anything. I was texting her, didn't hear anything. I says, I better reach out to this travel agent. I was like, I think we might have something going here. I says, I hadn't heard back from this person. She says, do I need to be concerned? And I'm the kind of person, I don't let out people's business. Right? And so she says, do I need to be concerned? And so I says, I'm going to give her some more time. I wouldn't answer the agent back, the travel agent back, because I've been giving this girl time, right? Still didn't hear anything. And so the travel agent still saying, do I need to be concerned? I said, I better say something. And I said, well, I think we do need to be concerned. And so she started reaching out to people, trying to figure out where is this person. And so the travel agent got back to me and she says, well, nobody is being honest. And I almost passed out. And so she says nobody is being, the family is not being honest. They're not saying anything. I said, oh, good gosh, from Zion. And so I almost just passed out because I really wanted to go and I couldn't. And someone else says you can't go by yourself. And so they were trying to come up with a remedy. What a remedy. And so the hotel, of course, wasn't paid. And so somebody else says, I'll give you half of the hotel. And I says, oh my gosh. And so the plan was to leave Chicago to get to Seattle, then go to Alaska. And so they're saying, well, you go by yourself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going by myself. I'm like, that's not the plan. So long story short, the person that was going with me was not okay. And nobody was honest to say she can't go. That's all they had to do was say that she couldn't go. Just say she can't go. So the long story, the point of the story is this. Even though somebody knew what I had been through and came up with an idea for me to get uh, rest and rejuvenated, that didn't happen because something happened and we didn't go. And guess what? Lost all the money. Could not get anything back but the trip was, I want to say 15. I'll just throw a number out. The trip was like $1,500, right? And then of course the airfare, you get your ticket, but then now this other $800, none of that. So that's money that could have went somewhere else, and that money is just gone, 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 gone. And so then the taxes, you get your tax money back, but that's, what is that? What is tax money? What about the other stuff? So anyway, when it comes to caregiving, be careful what you say to people. If you're going to say something and come up with something that will help this person to get themselves back together, make sure that you do it and follow through. So listen, I gotta get on up out of here. My time is well over. And so listen, you guys know, as always, it is peace, love, and it's real. It's real on today. It's Raw Real Friday.